to share a few thoughts on the implementation plan to kind of tag team on what Rick and Bill have both shared. The implementation plan that I assembled was for the region. It was kind of the plan that we see and that we wanted to follow. And it was an output of conversations with Bishop Smith and Cynthia, Brother Darrell Derryberry, myself, Tom Thompson, and Brother Pena. Bill has been invited as a participant in that group as well. And so I basically put together, and it's a very rough overview. It's not comprehensive at all. It's 5 pages, and that may sound like a lot, but I think once you get into this, you'll see what I'm talking about here. I started out with an introduction and vision, and that was a statement that we assembled collectively among ourselves. What we want to see as a result of the Multiply 2030 initiative, which is the initiative that Bishop Brian Sutton has implemented for the North America region of the Church of God of Prophecy. And so we put together a vision statement, the rationale for it, the reason why we're doing it, a region overview. I talked about the demographics of the region, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, kind of age distribution. And so the idea behind that is, I feel like if I'm serving in a community, I should know the makeup of that community. I should have an idea of the median household income. I should have an idea of the median age of the community. I should have an idea of the median educational attainment. Those kinds of components are helpful to me in knowing how to reach and serve that community. And so we put that in there. Demographics, we talked about urban versus rural. We talked about major metropolitan areas. We talked about suburban areas. We looked at regional economic drivers. So if I'm in a community and there's no economics there other than a Walmart, 20 miles away, what are the people doing? That probably tells me that most of the people who are working age don't work in the community. They're not there during the day. They're probably only around on weekends. Their lives are likely really busy. They're not around a lot on the evenings. So I need to make sure that I'm crafting my services and my activities and my outreaches and things kind of around their lives, because otherwise they're not going to be present, or maybe the people that I'm targeting won't be present. I talked about a SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis, for those of you that don't know, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. That's what SWOT stands for, SWOT. So look at our church. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are opportunities? And some of these may be in the same category. What are our threats? So some of the threats that I put down: increasing secularization in society, competition from other religious and non-religious organizations, economic uncertainties affecting church finances, changing cultural attitudes toward traditional church models. Those are some of the threats that we identified in our conversation. Goals and targets. Talk about SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This is just a business principle that we apply. It translates into our context, but our specific goal is to increase the number of churches in the Heartland region by 50%. That's our goal. Measurable, plant one church and establish one new affiliate partnership in each district by a certain date. Achievable, launch 8 to 12 new pregnant churches. That means we have churches that we identify that we want to see be able to plant a church within a certain timeline. Relevant, train all presbyters. So we trained all 11 of our district presbyters as trainers on DCPI's material. So that was one of our goals. And then time-bound, implement the full 2030 strategy by a certain date. So that's kind of the idea. Key personnel, who are my leaders? Who are the people we look to? What's our implementation strategy? Leadership development, church planning, revitalization, community engagement, multicultural intergenerational approaches, technology, digital strategy, marketing, communications. All those different variables factor in here. They may not have relevance in your particular context from day one, but These are all things that are important. So we can share this with you: financial considerations, evaluation, adaptation, and then a conclusion. It's pretty simple. It's um, pretty raw. There's not a lot of meat hanging on the bones here, but that's not what we're asking you to do. We're not asking you to have all the answers. We're asking you to start charting a path and creating a clear path forward so you can have something to follow. Because right now, I feel like in a lot of church culture contexts, and this goes across denominations, we just kind of shoot, ready, aim. you know, we bang, but we haven't ever taken the time to prepare ourselves and target the right audience and those kinds of things. So I feel like in a lot of church world scenarios that we've kind of had a warm body complex context. Uh, oh, we need you over here, and we just kind of push people out, and we don't give them tools they need. We haven't taught them the things they need to be taught, and we just hope they kind of figure it out as they go. And some of us have, and some of us haven't, and God's been merciful to us, and He's helped us along the way. But we're at a stage as an organization, collectively, we've recognized, and as a region, as a territory, this didn't used to be Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas. We're 4 states now because of continuing shrinking demographic in our church participation. So we're trying to turn the ship. Rick said, we want you to leave hopeful. We do want you to leave hopeful because we have a job to do. We have a lot of good stuff to do. And there's a lot of good things we can do. And these principles translate well. I will tell you that I think one of the best things you could do for yourself as you're working toward creating this implementation plan is to visit a couple of other churches outside of our tradition that have something going on. And I can send you, I've got a document that has the 12 principles and the 8 systems kind of outlined, just broken down. Instead of having to go through every single page in your material, you can just kind of look at those. And I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with that material and then go to that church. I've actually put together kind of a little evaluation summary where you can look for and identify, oh, they're really good at praying, or they're really good at making sure that they're mentoring people, or they have great follow-up pastoral care ministries, or they're doing a great job with their worship planning ministry, or finances are a really high priority in their organization. And it's not just about, how they can get money. It's about helping families raise their economic standard and you use their resources well. So that's a really, really helpful exercise. And I think it will stimulate some thoughts in your minds, because right now we only know what we know, right? And you're never going to know what you don't know if you don't ever expose yourself to it. And that doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that everybody else is doing, or that they're the end all be all, but they're doing something right if they're really continuing to grow and thrive. And so we can poke holes in Joel Osteen and Craig Groeschel and those kind of guys all we want. But at the end of the day, something is translating to a good thing. And so I really want to encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to make that kind of one of your first priorities if you can. A lot of these churches have church on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then 5 or 6 times on Sunday. I mean, that's just crazy. And here we over here trying to have one a week and just praying that we can get enough people in there to, you know what I'm saying? So not to sound negative or anything, I'm just trying to challenge you to look beyond what you've always done, stretch yourself, ask God for help. He's the boss. He's the one that's in charge. Pray about these things and then begin to work through this process. Don't be discouraged by it. If you get hung up on something, ask somebody. I'm available. Reach out to me. Shoot me a text. Probably not call me, but shoot me a text. I will respond to you. I'm just not always able to take calls. My phone rings all the time, and my other phone rings a lot too. So, but I will get back to you. Shoot me an email. I'll get back to you. So, all right, that's that about that. Any questions about that? All right, let me wrap up this 5 million church vision. This is a DCPI specific component. It's about partnering with DCPI. If you found value in this material, they have lots and lots of other classes and courses available. If you're interested in this and you'd like to become a trainer, we can talk about that. We can take you through the class sessions. Once you've gone through your process and you feel comfortable and you're beginning to see some progress in your implementation, gaining some traction, if you want to become a participant in this, we can talk about that. There's other classes you could do. There's churches planting churches. There's house church planting, which is one that I think is going to become probably a priority in our territory, because brick and mortar is not always a viable option, especially from day one. So house church planting is a good thing, and it's thriving around the globe, all over the globe. It's thriving. So the vision of DCPI originally was to plant 1 million churches and to train 1 million church planters. They've since changed that to 5 million. And that came as an output of a prayer retreat that they did. The leader of DCPI had a, you can find a video on it. I could send it to you. I have it in here, but I don't want to take the time to do that right now. I just don't feel like that's pertinent to our discussion here today. But they do have a great goal. This started in Amsterdam at I guess that's Billy Graham's evangelistic school that they used to do there back in 2000. And they began training certified trainers in 2003. By 2011, they had trained 66,000 people. And since that time, they're well on pace to have 5 million new churches. Hundreds of thousands and millions of new believers have been won to Christ. This is a thriving ministry, and this body of principles and systems. The number one thing that causes businesses to fail or succeed is principles or systems and processes. Franchises almost never fail, and the reason they don't is because they have rock solid systems and processes. So take some time, check out dcpi.org. It's their website. Go there, read some of the material. If you feel compelled of the Lord or led the Lord to partner with them and donate, absolutely do that. Make sure that you're availing yourself to those resources. If you have other questions, like I said, reach out to me. The vision of DCPI is to be an exponential movement. I think they're doing that. It's a cross-cultural ministry. Actually, a lot of this material comes from India. Because they have such a thriving underground church ministry in India, and I mean literally tens of millions of churches are planted in that nation through these principles, and so they've kind of borrowed from that culture. I have a friend in Vietnam who has planted hundreds, probably thousands of churches by now. I was telling Bill about. Or maybe it wasn't Bill, it was probably you, wasn't it, Scott, about the guy up in Pittsburgh. Yeah, we were talking about a guy in Pittsburgh. Back in the mid-'90s, there's a pastor up in Pittsburgh. I can't remember his name. You'd probably know him, Bill. He was pastoring a church, and he had just planted his 5th church out of his church in Pittsburgh. 5 churches. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. And he says, yeah, I don't want a church of 5,000 people, but I could have 50 churches of 100 people. Well, last weekend, another friend of mine, Herbert Cooper's pastor in Oklahoma City, church planter, good dude, he preached at his pastor's conference in Pittsburgh, celebrating his 150th church plant in the state of Pennsylvania out of his church. His church. His church still has around 500 people in it. So every time they take 50 people and they go across town or across the county or to another neighboring community and plant a church, God brings 50 more people in, and then that church grows and begins to thrive. They just celebrated 150 churches. Guy's been there for about 40 years, 35, 40 years. 40. So that's crazy. Yeah, it's like 4 churches a year that they're planting. I mean, if you factor it out on an average. So this is achievable. This is doable. This is a God moment for Church of God of Prophecy. This is a God moment for you, for all of our ministries. We just have to change our thinking. We just have to change our thinking. We have to start recognizing that we are trees, and our job isn't just to produce apples. Our job is to produce other apple trees. Have to start thinking about multiplication. So Anyway, upstairs?
Yes, sir. Upstairs.
All right. Love y'all. Thank you.